everybody. Welcome to the Hallmarkies podcast. And we are really excited today. We love talking with directors on the podcast. And today we have Nicholas Humphries, director. And thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me on. What you guys do is just such a vital part of our industry. So, thank you for what you do, and specifically for having me on. It's nice to be able to talk about the projects we have coming and get the word out.
Yeah.
So, I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I've been following you for some time on the socials and things like that. And I honestly feel like that you're a little underrated. I think
Aw,
that I've really enjoyed a bunch of your movies and just excited to get a chance to talk with you.
well, thank you so much. That's really nice to hear. I appreciate that.
Yeah. So this is your first time on the podcast. So we like to give our guests a chance to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit how you got on this path to becoming a director.
Yeah, sure. So my name's Nick Humphries. I'm a Vancouver-based director, although I direct kind of all over Canada. And then most recently, sort of internationally, I did a Hallmark mystery in Panama, which was really exciting. But
Yeah.
I kind of got into directing through short films, a lot of horror, sci-fi, dark fantasy. And then it was actually during the pandemic when things opened up again. They've just there was a boom in the TV movie space, and a company called me up and they said, we have this thriller for Lifetime that we think that is in your wheelhouse, but we also have to crank out this rom-com. And I had never directed a rom-com at that point in my career, and I love rom-coms, but it wasn't where I was trying to brand myself. So, but I jumped at the opportunity, and I did a good job, and they brought me back again and again and again, and then people that I met at that company moved to other companies, and then they brought me with them. And so for the past 5 years, I've gotten to do rom-coms, thrillers, Christmas movies. Got to adapt one of Nancy Nagel's books, which was a very kind of special project. Yeah, just the diversity of where I get to play as a director in the TV movie space over the last 5 years has been really exciting. And then a year ago, I quit my teaching job and I'm just directing full time now, which is not something I
Ah.
ever thought I'd be able to say in my lifetime. So it's just been great. Yeah.
So did you like start out always wanting to become a director? Did you go to film school? What was kind of your path?
Yeah, so when I went to college, I had no plans on post-secondary. Where I grew up, it just wasn't really something that was encouraged. And then just out of a loss of like not knowing what I wanted to do, I ended up going to college. And originally I wanted to go into journalism. And then that kind of morphed into me wanting to do creative writing. And then, I graduated with my undergraduate degree in film studies, but I had no idea what I wanted to do because I didn't know any directors. It didn't seem like a path that was available to me. But I ended up working at the Vancouver Film School, and I was helping produce the short films that were made in the writing department. And I had trouble finding directors, so I went out and I directed a short film on like a zero budget kind of situation, and then sent it out to some film festivals so that I could help with the shooting of these films. And that film won the Audience Choice Award at the film festival I sent it to, and it was the first time in my life that I felt like this light bulb kind of go on where I was like, oh, and now I feel some direction in my life, and I know that it's going to be hard, and the odds of me, turning this into a career are slim, but I would just rather chase this feeling, and not succeed than to go do something safe that I didn't love. And so I just started heading in that direction, and it was shorts, and then a web series that did really well. The Sci-Fi Channel bought that up, and then features inevitably after that.
Did you grow up in like Vancouver area?
I grew up in a very small town. It's not so small anymore, but when I was growing up, it was quite small, about 2 hours outside of Vancouver, a town
Okay.
called Chilliwack. So
Oh.
moving to the big city right after graduation was number one on my priorities.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, I went to University of British Columbia out in Vancouver, and I've been here ever since.
It's like Hallmark in reverse, moving to the big city.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. So did you have directors and films growing up that really like inspired you and that you
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, I think the first director that I was aware of was Steven Spielberg because I was obsessed with E.T. when I was a kid. And
yeah.
it was one of the first movies that was like the director's name is like the biggest text on the poster, right? So I became aware of directors around that point.
Yeah.
And then growing up, I got really obsessed with like Tim Burton. I like things that are like, spooky with a bit of magic, I think was where my interests were as a kid. And then those evolved over time. Like I think my current muse is Guillermo del Toro. I love the stuff he makes.
Uh-huh.
So yeah,
Yeah. It's a
yeah.
good choice. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Did you have like a favorite film that you were obsessed with? I guess E.T., you said.
E.T. was
Yeah.
was was a pivotal moment for me in my development.
Mm,
And oh gosh,
it's a
yeah,
good one. It'll make you cry.
yeah.
When
I
they've
love
got
that.
E.T. in that bubble and everything's all like,
I still can't watch when they find him by the creek and he's
oh my
all
God,
like turning white. I close my eyes.
trauma.
I know.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
tons. I mean, in all different genres, really. I mean, I sort of, I loved scary stuff growing up. But I've always had a love for everything. And so when I did my film studies degree at UBC, I got exposed to like areas of film that I hadn't been aware of previously. That never would have gone to like
Yeah.
silent films. I saw a movie from the 20s called The Wind, starring Lillian Gish, which was like one of my favorite movies of all time. And there's no dialogue. It's a silent.
Oh.
Um,
Uh-huh.
but yeah, just
Yeah.
all movies I love.
Yeah, sometimes the movies they have you watch at film studies classes. I mean, just I've seen the list and I'm just like, oh, come on. They're so highbrow that I don't know. They're just like, oh, are you really wanting to teach people how to like actually like work in the space? Like what are they doing?
It's
I don't know.
true. It's
Like,
true. And there was definitely classes that I had where, like, because a lot of our classes were in the theater at UBC, there's the
yeah.
arcade cinema. And so it's like dark and it's warm. And if the movie was boring, I had some of the best naps of my life during film studies classes.
Yeah. Yeah, I have to admit, I am known amongst the local area film critic scene of being the one. If somebody's gonna tap out and fall asleep, it's gonna be me. I do sometimes struggle, especially if we have like a if I've just had lunch or I've just had and then we have a screening and it's a boring movie. It's
But there's
it's
some,
so funny because like because I guess because I podcast and I'm so outspoken and whatever, and I tend to have strong opinions about things that like my fellow critics they all basically know kind of oh, okay, what's Rachel gonna be thinking about this movie, and they'll like look at me and they'll be like, yep, yep.
but isn't there
I
something nice
remember.
about falling asleep to a movie though? Like that's my favorite way to like slip into a nap is just to lull to sleep by
Like
something
usually it's only for a few seconds.
fair. Yeah.
Yeah, like I mean, if I really, really fell asleep, then I would either have to acknowledge it in my review or I would try to see it again. If it was like a significant, usually it's just like, oh, kind
Yeah.
of a thing. But anyway, but yeah, it's it's funny. I guess I'd rather be known for having strong opinions than for being bland
Fair.
and
Yeah.
uninteresting. I think.
That's what I would say, like in regards to filmmaking, the only rule to cinema is to make the audience feel something. Everything else
Yeah,
is like, up for interpretation. But,
yeah,
if you're being boring, no one's going to pay attention, right? So
right.
as long as you're getting a reaction, you're doing your job.
Exactly. And you can have slow pacing and still be gripping.
Hmm.
It doesn't necessarily like I loved the taste of things from last year, which was like practically an hour of them just like cooking stuff, but it was like so beautiful and so romantic and so it just depends on the situation. But anyway, ho, ho, ho. We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies Patreon.
Do you love Hallmarkies podcast, especially at Christmas?
Do you enjoy the holiday previews, recaps, interviews, and bonus episodes?
If the answer is yes, please consider supporting the Hallmarkies Patreon. We need your help to do what we do both during the Christmas season and all year round.
But not only do you help a podcast led by strong, independent women by becoming a Patreon, you get to become a part of the Hallmarkies family.
Starting at only $2 a month as a patron, you will have access to our Facebook Patreon group where we talk about the movies, shows, and more all year.
We also have many monthly patron watch alongs with guests like Lacey Chabert, Natalie Hall, Paul Campbell, Mary Lou Henner, and more, giving their behind the scenes details of their films.
As a patron, you also have the chance to provide input into the podcast and even join us at different tiers.
So this Christmas season, spread some cheer to the Hallmarkies Patreon and become a member today. You won't regret it.
Go to patreon.com/hallmarkies to learn more.
That's patreon.com/Hallmarkies.
Saw that you've done a bunch of horror and then kind of moved on to the rom-com. So I'm curious if you feel, because some people say it's kind of like, love is just the flip side of hate, that the genres are actually not that different. Would you agree?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that good horror has some kind of, human element to it,
Yeah.
right? And so, like, I mean, I love a horror movie with a good romance in it,
Sure.
like, so, I think, yeah, I mean, it comes down to human emotions, right? And I think,
Yeah.
the skill set to working with an actor to get them to that place or conveying it on screen, it transfers between genres. At least I think so. I think in
Yeah.
this industry we get pigeonholed into certain boxes a lot of the time too, which was never something that I was afraid of. I was always like, yeah, I'm going to be a horror director. But I'm glad that I did have the opportunity to kind of expand beyond that because I found that I really love doing rom-coms. And now that I have a variety of things on my list of credits, I'm able to submit for all different kinds of
Mm.
projects and be considered. So I think
Yeah.
diversifying is important.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah. Because when you think about it, you have to have like some stakes. So if there's not like a relationship of some kind involved in the horror, like you're not going to feel the tension that you need.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like if all of the characters are detestable, which is like a big thing in a lot of horror movies, right? Is that it's
Yeah.
like, there's nobody to root for. That's when I fall asleep. And
Yeah.
like I don't care
Yeah.
what happens to any of these people. But
It's
if you can make
true.
the audience care, then it takes you on a ride because you're
Yeah.
invested.
Hmm. Yeah. So the role of being a director, you have so many different balls in the air that you're dealing with at the same time. I kind of think seems like the director's kind of the CEO of the movie. Like how do you do that? Like working with the editor, working with this director of photography, the producer, everybody. Like how is that for you?
Well, I mean, when we're on set, I always find being on set sort of the most fun part of the process because I'm only focused on what's in front of me. And usually that's working with, the actors and the heads of department, right? So it's like I'll work with my director of photography and my director of photography, and I will collaborate on something, and then they'll distribute that information to the rest of their team. So the people that I have to interact with moment to moment on set is like, it's pretty straightforward, right? It's like I'm just focusing on what I'm doing. I find pre-production pretty stressful because you have to have the whole movie in your head at all
Yeah.
times, and everybody has questions, and you have to have an answer for them. And it is like, there are mental gymnastics involved. And so I really just focus on, knowing the script inside and out. Sometimes I'll do prep that nobody else will ever see, right? Like I'll work on these like lookbooks and kind of build character descriptions and stuff that's just from my own reference so that it's in my head and I can answer all those questions um, and get lots of sleep and try and, exercise if I can and eat healthy so that my brain is working as much as it can during that time. Um, the shoot, like it's long days, right? So it's like all that stuff also kind of falls away, right? You don't have time to eat properly and work out and sleep and all those things. And so over the course of the shoot, I find my brain starts to atrophy by the
Yeah.
end of it. But as far as like, stress and focus goes, it's like, yeah, we're working on this one, beat within a scene with these actors. And I love that process. It's
Yeah.
so much fun.
Do you find is it more stressful making the thrillers, than making the rom-coms? Are the rom-coms more fun, or are they all fun?
It really depends. They're all fun.
Yeah.
I like the thrillers for just like, you get to play a little bit more how do I put this? There's a little bit more creative leeway within a thriller to like, leave my fingerprint on that project. Whereas
Yeah.
like, the rom-coms, it's like there's a structure and there's a look.
Mm.
It's like, and it's basically like working for television, right? Like you're creating within an established world, even if it's individual movies. So, there's that difference. But like, I also love that like usually like a lot of rom-coms take place during the day, and so to be working on a movie and get to drive home at the end of the day and the sun is still shining
Oh,
is like
yeah.
a
That
really
makes
special
sense.
thing for me. Um,
Yeah.
but like, and it's people falling in love, right? It's like, and it's pleasant and, there's no blood continuity or anything like that to worry about. So yeah, I love it. And then
Yeah.
getting to do like a bunch of Christmas movies this year. I did 3 Christmas movies this year. That was a whole other kind of adventure.
Yeah.
I love Christmas. I've always loved, I mean, all the
Was
holidays.
this your first time doing Christmas?
This year, yeah. And I've been
Yeah.
putting it out into the universe like consistently for the last 4 years. I'm like, we make so many Christmas movies in Vancouver. Why haven't I got to have one yet? And then it was like, boom, I got two right at the beginning of the year, back to back. We prepped them both at the same time, and then we shot one, and then we shot the other one. So that was an adventure. And then I got to do my sort of larger one for Up TV in August. And so I'm like, maybe I'll just stay in the Christmas zone and put up my tree early and just like, yeah, it's been special, and I hope to do more in the coming year.
Yeah. So you got to do the winter shoot and the summer Christmas and shooting in summer shoot.
Yeah, so the winter
Yeah.
was kind of really cool because it was like very early spring up in Kelowna, which is about 4 hours north of Vancouver. And so they still had snow on the ski hill up there. So what we did was we prepped 2 movies. We shot all of the exteriors for both movies up at the ski hill. And then we went back into Kelowna for all the interiors where there was no snow, and then we shot out the rest of the movies. So it was like 22 days of shooting, which is quite long. But that meant like 11 days for each of those films, which is nuts because some of those scripts are like 110 pages, which is just like, it's insane. Like you really have to be well prepped to dive into that. But it was an adventure. I love living at hotels too. Like I know some people hate, it. I love living in a
Yeah.
hotel. Um,
I would love that too. I love hotels.
yeah, yeah. It's like someone makes your bed every day. It's like,
Right.
okay,
And I
delete the
even love like the little samples, the like shampoo and stuff like
yes.
that. Yeah. I'm
Yeah,
with
and then I
you.
came back and then we did the summer one, which was like, oh man, that was an interesting challenge because making it look cold,
Uh-huh.
and especially the poor actors. I mean, these actors, somebody give them a raise because they have to be in like parkas and jackets and stuff. Meanwhile, there's like a heat wave going on, and
Yeah.
it's magic what they do.
Yeah. Sometimes they can get a little lazy. I mean, I get it. It's really hard, but it makes me laugh when it's supposed to be like Alaska and they got like open coat. It's very thin parka, no scarf, It's like,
Yeah.
okay, come on, people. It's just,
Yeah. It gets hard. Like I've shot movies in the summer. Luckily, it wasn't a Christmas movie, but I shot a action horror movie for Tubi right after this heat dome that we'd had. So it was like
uh-huh.
40 degrees. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit, but it was
Yeah,
hot.
yeah. Hot.
And so the actors are just like dripping with sweat the entire time. Luckily, it fit for the movie. Um,
Okay.
but I would be in like shorts and a tank top, just like with a fan, like fanning myself, trying to stay alive, and they're in character doing their thing.
Is it hard with these TV movies that you don't get that many takes?
It can be, but I would say, like the cast that we have at our disposal, sometimes they come up from LA or from Toronto, but particularly, a lot of the cast we have in Vancouver, like this is their bread and butter, and they know
Uh-huh.
how to prepare for a 10-page day. And I do my best to try and like create an environment where they feel relaxed and, they don't feel that pressure. So I'll try and get it in as little takes as I can. If it's not working, I'll keep going. But I find that it's like after 3 takes, between the 3 takes, you have everything that you need to cut that portion of the scene together most of the
Hmm.
time.
Yeah.
So it is stressful. I find that I have to like condense my blocking a lot to fit. TV movies span anywhere between 11 and 15 days. And so an 11-day movie, you really have to be like, okay, how do I block them in such a way that it's going to reduce the camera setups, but still be interesting? And it's a constant, you find tools on how to do that. Like I do this thing called a do-si-do where the actors will be talking like this, and then I'll have them like trade positions and turn and talk to each other. So then you're only setting up the camera once, but like one actor's coverage becomes the other person's coverage when they move over, and you haven't moved
Yeah.
the camera. So
Yeah.
stuff like
Yeah.
that kind of helps you keep it moving and interesting.
Yeah. I can see that. That'd be interesting. So, your first rom-com was the Love on Trend, I think.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
how did that all happen? You've been doing the thrillers, and they were like, well, maybe you'd like this.
Yeah, so that was like my first movie after everything opened up after the pandemic. So
Uh-huh.
I worked with Giles and Jocelyn Panton. They're married in real life, so they were part.
Oh, because they were doing that in the pandemic, having
Yeah, they
couples.
shared a bubble, right?
Right, yeah.
That didn't mean that they were sharing a bubble with other actors on that set. So like that was a whole other added complication because you couldn't block two actors like this talking to each other because they'd be breathing in each other's faces. It had to be like walk and talks where they're moving this way.
Yeah, when they were doing the screen, the film instead for the kisses, that was so stupid. Oh my gosh.
I did
Oh.
one called The Wedding Fix where I found out
Hmm.
we couldn't have the couple that was supposed to get married in the movie couldn't kiss at their during their wedding scene. And so
It's
luckily
so
it was crazy, but the main
it was
storyline
so
was
dumb.
between the best man and the maid of honor. So what I did was I just had, the groom lean through the frame for the kiss, and then the focus went on the best man, and then on reverse I had the bride leaned through the frame and the focus was on the maid of honor.
Mm,
Feel like you saw them kiss, but the focus is on the
mm,
main romantic couple in
yeah,
that story. But there were challenges
that was
during
bonkers.
the
Yeah,
time.
yeah. What a time. What a time to be alive. But
Yeah.
it must be nice when you get to work with actors multiple times, like you've done with Andrea.
Oh, so I love Andrea. Andrea was
Yeah.
Wedding Fix was the first movie I did with Andrea, and that movie we shot, was it 2021? It was in the spring, and we had all kind of just come out of this very isolated, sort of sad and depressing winter. And so for us to just be on set in the sunshine, it was just so lovely. And so we really bonded during that experience. And then 2 years later, I was shooting a movie in Winnipeg and got to cast her as the lead in that one. And Patch May, who was her romantic interest in the first movie. So it was like this weird thing where it was like the same couple, but like different characters.
Mhm.
And then anytime you do like a location movie somewhere that isn't home, it's like going to summer camp with these people, right? And it's like you have this weird bond that never really goes away. So Winnipeg was really special. That was for A Lifelong Love for Hallmark Mystery.
Uh-huh.
And then we just most recently did a Christmas movie. She was in one of the winter ones that I did called um, Snowy with a Chance of
Oh,
Christmas.
she's in that?
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot that.
Yeah. It's her and
Nice.
Giles Panton, who I worked with on.
Ah, I love both of those people.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, my favorite thing about Lifelong Love, which enjoyed and thought was really sweet, was I think it was her boss or coworker, that guy, her the I thought he was really funny.
Oh,
Her,
the publishing
yeah,
guy.
yeah, 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 yeah,
Oh
yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah, he
Michael
was
Strickland,
funny.
he's hilarious.
Yes, that's
And
him. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, he's a Winnipeg local now, but he went to Vancouver Film School in the acting department when I was there teaching directing.
Oh, really?
So Michael and I have known each other for well over a decade. So getting to work together in Winnipeg was just such a special thing. Like we actually, before I was able to cast him in that, we went for lunch, had pizza and like caught up and we're just like,
Uh-huh.
just regular hanging out, and then found out that, because when directors want to cast someone, we usually have to submit selects on people that we like.
Uh-huh.
And the executive at the top will, ultimately be the final decision on who we get. So there's no guarantee that I was able to cast him, but in the end we were able to, and it was really fun to have a
He
bunch of,
was really funny. Like it's
yeah.
been a bit since I saw it, but I just remember laughing.
Yeah,
that he was real good.
he's a character.
Yeah. That was fun. And I love it when the supporting characters get to really shine in one of these movies.
Yeah,
That's always
yeah.
fun.
In a lot of ways, there's sort of like, the it's the connective tissue, right? Like
Hmm.
obviously you need your one and two to really like work and you need the chemistry to be there and
Yeah.
for them to like understand the genre of the movie that they're in. But yeah, those fun side characters are what like just yeah, give it that extra bit of life.
Yeah. Well, so then for Mystery Island, yeah, you said this was filmed in Panama? Is that right?
Hmm.
Yeah. So how did you get involved in that project and what was that like putting together doing a mystery one of your first mysteries?
Yeah, so I have worked with that company. I've done, I don't know how many movies I've done with Cartel, who is the company behind it. I did a horror movie for Tubi. I did Shell Collector, which was a Nancy Nagel book. What else did I do with them? Lifelong Love. And then I was kind of a late addition to that one. They called me and like 14 hours later I was on a plane. Like I was getting
Wow.
my phone blew up and they're like, "Are you able to come down like tomorrow?" And I was like, "Well, yeah, okay, let's go." So I got down there and it was very hot. I had to pick up a second camera body on my way down through LA. So I landed in LA. I had to pick up a second camera body and like a bunch of like extra stuff and then take it through the Panamanian border when I arrived. And I don't speak a word of Spanish and trying to explain it to the border guard about what this massive piece of equipment was hilarious. Thank God for Google Translate. And then, yeah, I just really connected with my director of photography when I was down there. He's a brilliant DOP named Lars Lindstrom from Los Angeles. He just did, what's there's like the sexy Santa movie that's coming out with Chad Michael Murray, and they're
Oh,
like,
he did that, the married gentleman or whatever it's called.
yeah, yeah. So he got that, I believe, and just a great guy. And so we really connected because we both were feeling a lot of inspiration for that script from things like White Lotus, which we both loved on HBO. Um,
Uh-huh.
and so just, and then, got to meet the cast when I was down there. Elizabeth Henstridge, I've been a fan of for a really long time. Also Charlie since Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I'd been a big fan. So it just was like such a great group of people. We all kind of got there around a similar time. And yeah, it was like 15 days in Panama. And I thought, mostly we were shooting in this big, beautiful house, but there was all this stuff in the jungle, like the literal jungle. And I've shot in the forest in
Yeah.
D, but I've never even been to the jungle. So it was very exciting until I got there and I realized how uncomfortable it is in the jungle because it is hot, it is wet, and if you stand still for more than 3 seconds, bugs start crawling up your
Oh my
body.
gosh.
So it was a challenge. But
Yeah, that'd be enough for me. I'd be
yeah, I don't do bugs very well.
no.
So it was a bit wild, but yeah, that movie did really well. It got, I think, like the between the first and second screening on Hallmark Mystery, it got something like the second highest growth rate in like network
Oh.
history. And I think there might be more on the way. I don't know if I'm allowed to say.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean it had a style to it and it when you were reading the script, did you like try to figure it out? Did it surprise you?
Yeah, yeah, it
Yeah.
did. And that's a testament to John Christian Plummer's writing. Like he's a
Uh-huh.
fantastic mystery writer. He knows what he's doing. So I got very excited when I read that script because it was such a page turner. I was just like, who did
Yeah.
it? It had like every couple of pages, my theories were changing on who it was. And it was just, and then I just got so excited. Like once I finished, I was like, this is one of the best scripts I've read in a really long time. And now I get to shoot it. Like this is crazy. It was such a
Yeah.
cool opportunity.
It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. And so you have three movies coming out this holidays, correct?
Yes, yeah. So I know the
Yeah.
one that I have a absolute release date for is Dial North by North Pole, a Dial S mystery,
Yeah,
which
with
is
great title.
it's great. I love North
Great
by
title.
North Pole.
Yeah.
And that's a sequel to Dial S for Santa, which was directed by a friend of mine, David Strasser, who we've been friends for years. He was actually a student of mine when I was at Vancouver Film School. And when I started getting TV movies, he got into the TV movie world before me. And so
Uh-huh.
I started doing them. I had to call him and be like, okay, the student, the master, tell me what I need to know.
Yeah.
And so, but and I think he was originally lined up to do the sequel, but he was busy. He was directing and I think executive producing a movie for Hallmark at the same time. So he had put my name forward. Heather Hawthorne Doyle had just finished Return to Sender with the same production company.
Which
So
was really good, by the
yeah,
way. I
yeah,
really enjoyed it. Yeah.
so good. Yeah, and
Yeah.
and she's like my movie mom. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, even if I haven't told anybody, she'll text me on my first day of shooting and like wish me, good luck and give me a little pep talk. Like, she's so wonderful. And so, but she had also recommended me for that movie because she was busy as well. So that one I got to work with Abby Ross and Joe Scapolino and just like an amazing ensemble cast. And there's a mystery element to it. It kind of brought like all my favorite things together, right? There's mystery, there's Christmas,
Yeah.
romance. It was like everything all in one. So I'm very excited about that one. That's December 22nd on Up TV, and then W Network in Canada. And I think I saw a listing for it on Plex. So I don't know if it's going to be going on Plex at the same
Uh-huh.
time or after. And then the other two, one of them's already been released. One is Snowy with a Chance of Christmas, which is Andrea Brooks and Giles Panton. And that one I think has already been released on Amazon Freevee, which I'm not sure what's going to happen because apparently Freevee just announced that they're shutting down. So I don't know
Oh,
where.
they are? Darn.
Yeah, I just saw that on like LinkedIn or something. There was like a big announcement, but I think the library is still going to exist. It just won't be through that platform.
Huh. I hadn't
Um,
heard that.
yeah.
Yeah, so she plays a weather woman in
Yeah.
this.
A Christmas obsessed weather woman.
Oh,
Um,
good.
And that was fun. We got to share. I mean, again, it was like that was a crazy shoot because it was 11 days. And like if it wasn't Andrea, it wouldn't have been possible.
Wow.
Like she shows up in the frame and it's exactly how it needs to be. Like she speaks and I believe her and it's magic. But one of the cool things about that was we actually could, because we were shooting in Kelowna, which is a relatively small town, we got access to the actual news station while we were up there. So one of our
Oh,
main
that's cool.
was like at Global News, which I've grown up, watching on TV. And so we got,
Yeah.
the green screen and all the fun things. So we didn't have to fake it, which was really nice. And I think that just lent a whole bunch of production value to
Oh,
the
that's good.
movie.
Yeah, that's good. So she's running the toy drive, it says here. Or she partners with a toy drive run by single father. I always
Mhm.
like those single dads.
Yeah.
That's always good. I think that will be fun. And
We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies merch store.
Are you looking for that perfect gift for the postable, hardy, or Hallmarky in your life?
What about getting that t-shirt or hoodie that will help you stand out at your next holiday party?
Now is the time to check out the Hallmarkies merch store.
Full of festive designs by artists like Jessica Miller, Carrie from Hallmark Comics, and more.
You can even have more than just shirts, but totes, cell phone cases, notebooks, mugs, and more.
And it isn't just Hallmark. We have designs for Anna Green Gables, Man from Snowy River, The Nanny, and more.
Every purchase at the merch store goes to help support the podcast and allows us to make the great content you know and love.
There are frequent sales, so go to tpublic.com/stores/hallmarkies or see the link in the description.
That's tpublic.com/stores/hallmarkies.
the North by North Pole Dial S mystery. So can you tell us just like a little bit about the mystery? What to expect?
So Abby Ross plays an interior designer in a small town called Willow Creek. And she is responsible for this Christmas festival. but somebody is sabotaging it. So the mystery is this guy who works for a company whose dad is going to be contributing to the renovation of the a heritage building in the town, sends his son to go figure out what's going on because if they can't get the Christmas festival together, then he's going to pull out. And so these two have to team up and find out who is sabotaging Christmas. And then
Oh.
Santa
So
Claus is
so it's
there.
not like a murder mystery. It's a
No.
yeah,
Yes,
sabotage
it's
Christmas
very
mystery.
light kind of magic Christmas mystery.
That's good.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then, of course,
Uh,
the Santa angle, because Santa's the connective tissue between the franchise. So he's kind of like a Mary Poppins character in
mhm.
this world where he goes from town to town and then helps people kind of, save Christmas with a little bit of Christmas magic.
And are these based on books or
No,
they
these are
stand
these are original
original?
ideas.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So then you have A Sprinkle of Christmas.
Yes, Sprinkle of Christmas. Haley Sales and wonderful Marshall
Williams.
Williams. And so she play this one is like it's kind of like I was always comparing it to uh like You've Got Mail and Notting Hill at Christmas time because she is a owner of a patisserie. Um, and he is like a big A-list celebrity. He comes into her patisserie and like there's like a piece of mixed communication. Anyway, he has a really bad time. He orders something he doesn't get and he gets mad and he goes and writes, a bad review.
Oh no.
And
Yeah.
and then she responds
Uh-huh.
as an alias. And then there's like back and forth. And then they start having feelings for each other. Meanwhile, they connect in real life because he needs a caterer for his brother's uh wedding. It's not the wedding itself. It's like
Oh,
it's like
like the rehearsal.
the rehearsal. Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And so, they're connecting in real life, they're connecting online under aliases, and it's just, I mean, they have such chemistry, those two, and it's just like it's a really beautiful little movie because we had an amazing baker up there that was preparing all of our food. So the
Oh,
food just looks amazing. Um,
uh-huh.
and it tasted good too, which like I can attest to because a lot of the stuff that I chose for the frame were things that I wanted to eat. And then I had whenever there was like extras that like we hadn't used on set, I would take them back to my hotel with me.
You're like, this will keep me into trouble.
Yeah, yeah. I think I gained 10 pounds on that shoot for sure. But it was
Is it
raw.
hard though, as a director with the continuity and stuff when you're filming food? I've heard that's hard.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, you come up with like different tools so that you're not like demolishing it entirely. So it's like, it's like if you're going to take a bite of something during a scene, take one bite and we'll take it at the exact same spot in the movie. But yeah, resets can get expensive. And a lot of times when you're working on a lower budget, that'll kind of dictate the food that you get to have on set, with people eating it because it's like, okay, if it's a lobster dinner and they're eating the lobster in the scene and you need like 10 resets of that food, it's going to blow the budget. That's why you see a lot of pizza and pasta in TV movies.
Mm-hmm.
But with these
Yeah.
baked goods, a lot of it was just for display. I was showing them making them, and then it was like on display
Yeah.
parties. So a lot of it was sort of like, sitting out for a couple of days, but nobody was actually digging into them.
Well, that's why you see a lot of moving around of the food, like not actual bites.
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
funny.
exactly. Or just that thing where it's like you go to and then put it back down to say something.
Well, I'm excited about this because Shannon Latmer wrote it, and I love her. She's
Yeah,
great.
wonderful.
Uh,
Really great screenwriter.
I really loved. She did a movie called Ghosts of Christmas Past, which I think is very underrated. I really enjoyed it. About this girl who there's a fortune teller at the company Christmas party. She's like obsessed with work, of course, and fortune teller, and she's like ghosted all of these people that she made online and stuff. And so the fortune teller tells her if she doesn't make up with all the people that she's ghosted before Christmas, she'll never fall in love. And so there becomes this deadline, and like her big work colleague guy is helping her like do this, and they're working on this project together, and we as audience learn that he's the big one that she ghosted, the like big one. And so it just provided, I thought, such like great romantic tension because again, we know, and it's building and building and building this relationship. And so in the big reveal that you're Mr. Blinky all along was so fun. And I just thought it was great. And
That's awesome.
she wrote that. And I just, she's a very good writer.
What a great premise. Yeah,
Yeah, isn't that
I
good?
actually got to interact with her a little bit because one of the things that I had to do, because we had a condensed shooting schedule, was I really had to work to get the script in a place where we could shoot it in 11 days. And so with both those movies, I ended up working quite a lot more with the writers than I normally would get to. Sometimes the script is
Uh-huh.
just greenlit, it's sent, I shoot it, it's over. But yeah, we got to meet and have Zoom meetings, and she's just lovely and
Yeah.
just really, really smart. Like if there was something that needed to be fixed for a logistical issue, she would find a really creative, character-driven reason for that to happen, which,
Hmm.
like, that's why we
Yeah.
have writers.
She's really good. Yeah. Well, very good. I'm definitely excited for all three of those. And we like to end our interviews with some fun, get to know you, rapid fire holiday questions.
Okay.
So, first one, what is your favorite holiday drink?
Uh, Eggnog latte.
Oh, okay, good. What's your favorite holiday cookie or treat?
Oh, iced sugar cookies. And like, let me just say,
Yeah.
I love them so much that you'll probably see in all three of these movies that iced sugar cookies do make an appearance because I wanted to eat the leftovers. But also as a crew gift on Dallas for Santa, one of the things that I did is we had a long weekend before our last
Uh-huh.
days, and I spent that long weekend baking like 100
Aw.
cookies for the cast and crew.
Oh, that's cute. Well, I love a good sugar cookie, but I am a fan of the fluffy icing, not the
Hmm.
the hard icing. That
Okay.
looks very cute, but it doesn't taste very good. I think you got to get the fluffy. That's fine. But yeah, good choice. Okay, what is your favorite Christmas song or carol?
Oh, Christmas Baby, Please Come Home.
Oh, okay,
Being
Mariah
like, yeah,
Carey,
mostly
Queen.
because it like opened up Gremlins, which was a favorite as a kid. It was like the opening song. And when I was doing
Yeah,
the director's cut of Dallas for Santa, sometimes you get to pop in music that you know you're never gonna get, right? But they put
sure.
it in for like mood and tone. And I got to open that movie with that song, which was just like a really fun thing that I got to do.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, what is your favorite classic Christmas movie?
I'm gonna say,
You could say Gremlins.
and I do love Gremlins. I would say it's a
That's
toss up between like Gremlins or Scrooged.
okay. Good. Yeah, yeah. All right. Which do you like better, Scrooge or the Grinch?
Scrooge.
Scrooge. Okay. Which do you like better, clear lights or colored?
Oh, colored.
Colored. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Would you rather be in a snowball fight or build a snowman?
Build a snowman.
Okay,
I don't like things flying at me.
good. Okay, good. The only thing that's hard about snowman is it does have to snow a lot. You have to have it pretty good, in order to do it, but it is fun. All right. Are you a good gift wrapper or not?
Yes, I'm an amazing gift wrapper because one year when I was in college, I was a seasonal employee at Restoration Hardware and I had to wrap gifts.
Oh,
And I thought I was good when I started there. And my boss
yeah.
would come around, she was like, not good enough. The corners aren't sharp enough. So now when I wrap presents, it's like it's a whole thing. Like I'll take 20 minutes on one present and just make it beautiful. So yeah.
If you ever write your own script, you got to put her into the movie,
Yeah,
I think, for
absolutely.
sure.
Totally.
That's funny. All right, last question. Do you have an ugly Christmas sweater?
All of my Christmas sweaters are really nice, but
Yeah.
I have an extensive t-shirt collection, and my favorite Christmas t-shirt, my sister got me last year, and it's got this like old 50s image of Santa Claus on it, and underneath it says Big Nick Energy.
That's
That's my
good.
favorite Christmas
Yeah,
thing to wear.
that's good. That's
And
very
it's
good.
ugly.
Yeah, you're like, all my sweaters are great. They're
Yeah.
not ugly. Well, very good. You did it. You answered all the questions. So thank you so much for coming to talk with us. We really appreciate it. We look forward to the movies. And if people want to follow you on socials, things like that, how do they do that?
Yeah, yeah. At Nicholas Humphries on Instagram. I also have a website, nicholasHumphries.ca. Kind of has like all my movies, like links to trailers. There's a bunch of demo reels on there. So if you want to know more, it's like all my info's over there.
Great. We'll have that all in the description below. So make sure you check that out. And thanks again. I hope you have a very Merry Christmas.
You too. Merry Christmas.
I'd like to thank Nicholas for coming on the podcast. This was so much fun to get to talk with him. I'll always love talking with directors, and I think he's great. So let me know what you think of all the different things that we talked about in the comments section or on Twitter. And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all of our social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. So check that out. Also make sure that you're following the podcast, Hallmarkies Pod, Hallmarkies Podcast, all of our social media. And if you are listening on iTunes, please leave your ratings and reviews. We really, really appreciate that so much. And if you are watching on YouTube, please give the video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. We appreciate that so much. We also have our patron group and merch store. Please take a look at that. And thanks so much again to Nick, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.